Good afternoon, and welcome to the Voice of Wisdom. With over 60 years of experience as an investment banker, entrepreneur, investment analyst, economist, and venture capitalist, Morty Davis is Wall Street and capitalism personified. Over 400 companies for which he has raised more than $3 billion over the years have created a countless number of jobs and exciting new products. Through the Voice of Wisdom, Mr. Davis explores, analyzes, and debates the most topical political, economic, and social issues facing our world today. Please join the conversation by dialing 332-263-3300. That's 332-263-3300. And now, Mr. Davis.
Hello again. It's so nice to revisit with you every Wednesday, as I have been for several months now. And I can't tell you how much I enjoy your insights, your wisdom, your comments, and even your abuse. So let's get started today. We're discussing one of the most important, in my view, issues confronting our nation in terms of its impact on our budget, on our priorities, and our response to what our forefathers, our founders, advised us, guided us as to how we should provide an ever better future for our nation, and the specific guidance and almost the demand or the insistence that we provide life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And if you think about it, life has not been a great priority for us because we've entered more wars than any other nation in the world, even though we've never been attacked on our own land, on our own, what is it? Not our own land, but our own, what's the right word? Anyway, call me back if you got the right word for me. On our own premises, our own native...
Territory.
Native what?
Territory.
Territory, that's the word, territory. On our own territory, never. And contrary to the Monroe Doctrine, President Monroe, I'll get it right yet. President Monroe instructed us, more than advised us, insisted that we not get involved with foreign wars, with European wars, and we should just defend our North American, South American territories. But we've been involved in more wars with more lost lives and more intrusions and expenditures of our treasure that could be used for so many other priorities that we really should address. It's amazing that in the recent discussion of Build Back Better, and I don't want to get into the political validity or justification for that program, but it included so many of the things that we desperately have to address, specifically healthcare, education, child support, social safety nets, so many things, infrastructure. I can't even enumerate all the things that we have to take care of, and we always expend for some reason, when the Cold War ended and Russia, the Soviet Union folded up, we said we were going to get a great dividend in the form of a reduction in the need to spend money on armaments and all defense spending. Nevertheless, we keep increasing it. We ended the Iraq and Afghan wars, and you'd think that we could cut it back a little now or a lot now. Instead, the president suggested a military budget this year, and Congress even raised it by billions of dollars. We'll spend almost or more than three-quarters of $1 trillion in defense spending this year. When we want to cure cancer or heart disease or any of the major illnesses and maladies that we all are subjected to, us individually, our kids, our families, and in fact, all generations to come, as it happens, since we haven't cured any of those yet. We don't have the funds. We say, Congress says, specifically some of the right-wing senators say, we don't have the money to spend on that. We have to spend it on defense. Defense against what? Very few of us are going to be killed by a foreign, hardly any of us. I mean, yes, we did have 9/11 and some 3,000 people were killed. And that was terrible and should never happen again. But it's nowhere near the amount of lives we lose regularly in wars that we have no business being in. And it's simply because we spend so much money and have so many personnel and our young people, our most valuable young people at their prime age, sent off to war and come back in body bags or almost as bad or maybe worse, crippled and maimed, and we're left with the residual of taking care of all those veterans who are living horrendous lives because of the injuries and psychological damage to their being and to their brain as a result of their war experiences. For that, we don't have money. It's just life, liberty, and even liberty is starting to be eliminated because there's all kind of programs to contain and to limit the ability to vote. You know, we make all sorts of holidays, but you'd think something as important as voting, we'd have a day off so people could attend or stop off and take the time to vote instead of leaving their jobs early or not even being able to leave their jobs. So much for liberty. And I don't even know if we have liberty because everybody's concerned about their little children and the school and the teachers. That's not liberty because they're all exposed to some person that's angry at the world or mentally disturbed. And we don't have the comfort of feeling really free of the imminent threats that we face every day. Yeah, I'm sure the NRA will make a big deal of this because there was a domestic terrorist, as I call them, a madman who attacked a mall this week, within the last week, or I think it was last Friday, that killed 3 people. I don't know if he wounded any or not, but he killed 3 people, and a bystander, a young man who had a gun, fortunately hit this guy with his own gun magically, because most cops, even that are well trained, don't ever hit their targets. So it was great that he did, and he's a hero, and he should be. But the NRA is going to make the case. See, any good man with a gun can save us from from a evil guy with an evil person with a gun, and that doesn't take account for the fact that 3 people were already killed because there are so many guns available. We're overwhelmed with guns.
Well,
Hello. Hello.
hi.
Yeah.
Yeah, Leonard Pianko, one of your fans
Hey.
in Florida. I want to hear your wisdom.
How are you?
I love your family. Good. What's happening?
Thank you. Are you just calling as a friend and say hello, or do you have any views on
No, I
the
want to
subject?
listen. Not a friend. It's a serious business. I want to hear you say and listen to it. Be educated.
Yeah. But do you have anything that you want to bring up, or with respect to this subject?
Okay, I'm okay to handle it.
You're
I'll pay
okay?
attention.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for calling. I'm delighted to hear you're healthy and well,
All right, thank you.
and you should continue. God bless you.
All
Thank you. Thank you for the call.
Have a good day.
You too. Oh, this way I get to meet and arrange to talk to some of my family's good friends. Bianco is a very good friend. Anyway, to get back to my monologue, and we certainly don't have happiness. We have the worst punishment, the worst obstacle to happiness, because every few years we have to send our young people, our most precious future members of our society, to be off, to get killed, to get maimed, to kill others. It's outrageous. Every one of us, including, it starts at the very top, President Bush, the father, the one who became president right after he was vice president under Reagan. Even he had the most sound, most extensive and not tolerable, but superior availability, health care availability. And he lost a little child, I think it was maybe 6, I think it was a little girl, to cancer. And every one of the congressmen, every senator, every important member of our society, and every member of our society is going to die not from a bullet or an attack by a foreign invader or from a fascist or a dictator or authoritarian that sends his troops to the United States to kill us. They're going to be killed by cancer, I promise you. I guarantee you. I hate to promise you that, but you have to recognize the truth of this. Everyone, myself, my children, my grandchildren, all my loved ones, and all of you, my precious listeners, and your loved ones will be have their life ended not by a bullet from some foreigner or even an attack by some evil outsider or even a domestic killer, but rather from cancer, from heart disease, from pneumonia, from although we've come a long way in curing and alleviating the consequence of pneumonia. But what my wife had, Parkinson's. I mean, it's just endless. Every disease, and we don't spend to get money for that purpose, to find cures and do the research. For that, we have to beg and ask for donations and charitable gifts, and we have a blank check for the military because it's very hard to vote against defense because defense is precious. We got to defend our people and our country, and except that it's not defense. A lot of it is offense. We get involved because we have so many militaristic inventories, and we spend so much. We spend more. I think what I read here. Let me quote it. Somebody wrote in a letter to the editors brilliantly. The U.S. military budget is larger than that of the next 11 countries combined, and more than twice that of China, a constantly cited justification for more spending. After 20 years, the end of the war in Afghanistan resulted not in a budget decrease, but more increases, and Congress cut back on Build Back Better by half, but added to the president's defense budget request. The majority of Americans don't support an endless increasing Pentagon budget, but double standards in Congress combined with low media coverage tip the scales toward the outcome time and again. And one of the major reasons for that is the military and the Defense Department makes sure that every congressman gets a big injection of funds into their communities and into their districts. And so they were always praised for bringing in so many jobs and so much economic growth. But that's that's certainly not what should be our priorities. We have so many other priorities and vital priorities. You know, kids that are dying, so many thousands and hundreds of thousands, and even perhaps millions of young kids that suffer from, heinous poverty and even starvation. These are some of the people, along with the soldiers we lose and all the people we lose as a result of war, some of whom might one day actually come up with cures and invaluable technologies and contributions to society. So we have to really reorient our society away from war. The United States has participated, sadly, in more international wars than any other country in the world. And we're supposedly the peacemakers. We enter wars unnecessarily because we're strong and we're trying to be the protectors of the world, which is nonsense. And we don't improve the world by that. We didn't improve Afghanistan. We didn't improve Iraq. We didn't improve Korea. We don't even have peace with Korea after, 70 years or something. And the truth is, nobody wins wars. Both sides lose their young people, lose their much of their blood and treasure. There's no winners in wars. So ideally, we should work together to outlaw laws completely. Dwight Eisenhower, who served as president, the only general in this century, in the last century, that was involved in wars, led a successful war, warned us against the military-industrial complex, because the military-industrial complex becomes so powerful that they almost determine and dictate how we spend our hard-won taxpayers' money. And And there's no reason for that. We are not a warlike, or in my judgment, we are not and shouldn't be a warrior country, a militaristic country. We should be a peace-loving country, as we claim we are. We fought in the Vietnam War. We didn't win that. And there's no reason for us to be involved in Vietnam or Afghanistan. We should have learned, at least from the Russians, who were at war with Afghanistan before us, I think for maybe a dozen years, and walked out, left with their tails behind their, drag, because they couldn't defeat Afghanistan. They couldn't overcome the challenges of Afghanistan, and they lost hundreds of thousands of their own precious young people. So we step up. Yes, we lost 3,000 people on 9/11, but we hardly had any reason to go to war against Afghanistan for that. We should have gone to war against Osama bin Laden, who was a culprit, and we finally did get him in Pakistan after many years. But we spent all that billions of dollars, trillions of dollars fighting that war, and lost so many priceless and valuable, precious young people and precious treasure of ours that could have been used for so many constructive and rewarding things for our people that would have added to their happiness, instead of providing the worst results against happiness. The parents who lost their kids in the war, the parents who have to watch their kids placed in veteran hospital warehouses for the rest of their lives. We're still paying for the people that were hurt in Korean War and Vietnam War and all the wars we've been in. And it's heartbreaking, as well as wasteful, as well as uncivil. There's no reason for it. We should get together with all the countries of the world and set up an institutional army that prevents wars. Unless somebody outright attacks another nation, there's no reason for us to get involved in civil wars. And so we can't cure the nature of humanity or all the ills of the world. We did try during the Arab Spring in the Middle East to turn all those countries into democracies. And we found out that that's not possible. You can't make that happen in a short time or just by money. And now we're in Ukraine, where we have no business being there. We should have never got involved. Even some of our most brilliant leaders, I think, under Clinton, I think there was a leader in the State Department named Cannon. I forget his first name, but he said after the Soviet Union folded, we immediately expanded NATO and put them right on the border of the recently created democracy of Russia. And how would we feel if some of these countries like Iran and China and Russia and Venezuela and who knows who put a NATO kind of combination of troops and missiles and armaments on Cuba, 90 miles away from us. We put through our action along with NATO, which we were primarily the founder and supporter of, and still are. We put troops right on the border, not even 90 miles away. Poland and Hungary have and Romania, I think, as well, have missiles right on their borders. Right after Russia indicated that they'd love to be part of NATO, when the Soviet system, communist system, the communists were our enemies, not the people of Russia, and they wanted to be part of NATO so they could be protective and share the ability to protect themselves by others joining them. And we put up missiles on their borders as if they were still major enemies. I mean, that's no way to win friends and influence people and avoid conflicts. And likewise, in this Ukrainian dilemma that we're in, because if we told Putin that we wouldn't allow any further intrusions on his border and not allow Ukraine to become part of NATO, we probably wouldn't be in this conflagration. So let me hear your views on our positions and the amount we expend on military industrial equipment. I can go on the wastefulness. Years ago, I remember reading where we spent $400 for a toilet on a military airplane. It's just outrageous what we spend and what we get in return. We're still funding an airplane. I forget what it was, AF something, that will cost us something like $6 trillion by the time we're through. And we haven't made any progress. We've had lots of failures, and we don't need it. And every time we say we're going to cut the Congress and the top military people say, no, don't cut it. They can't make an argument for why we're continuing it, because there's no logical reason. We're building another aircraft carrier now. I think we have 20 or 21, and it costs $150 billion a year to man them and to take care of the needs while they're out there. $150 billion a year. We have 20 or 21 aircraft carriers. No other country has more than one except China, which has 2. So we have 10 times as much as China. I think they're building a third one now or something. But still, it's outrageous. We have a terrible, it's not a habit, it's a compulsion. It's an erotic compulsion to keep on building more armaments and more. I'll tell you something interesting about what Einstein said. Some of our most brilliant people, certainly Einstein was one of the most brilliant people, because when Time magazine did at the end of the century, at the inception of the present century, in 2000, the end of 1999, Time magazine was trying to choose the most important person of the last century, most influential person of the last century. And they considered Roosevelt and Truman and Eisenhower and Hitler and Churchill and Stalin, all of which were certainly major influences of the last century, affected our lives enormously. But in the end, they chose Albert Einstein. And he was responsible with his group for creating the atomic bomb.
People in my life, look at me.
Hello? that was used in warfare. We attacked the list used in our attack on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan, which helped, thankfully, end the war, that Second World War against Japan. And Einstein's comments were broadcast on a United Nations radio program, which came a week after he suggested a disarmament program was the only way toward that a disarmament program, Einstein said, was the only way toward peace, striving for peace, and preparing for war. Einstein said we should strive for peace and prepare and avoid preparing for war, because those are incompatible. I got it out with each other. So making more and more arms and selling more arms throughout the world. Let me take the caller. I'm sorry to keep you waiting. What's your name?
Hi there. My name is Robert Leeds. Hello, Mr. Davis, sir.
Good. How are you, Robert?
I'm well, thank you.
Good.
I've been listening to the show here now for a couple of months. I'm really getting a lot out of it and enjoy it.
Thank you so much.
But on your topic, I think it's sad that the U.S. has in recent years played the role of world interventionist and global policeman. I'm going to quote Thomas Jefferson here from his first inaugural address: peace, commerce, and honest friendship with all nations, tangling alliances with none. I deem the essential principles of our government, and consequently, those who ought to shape its administration. What do you think of that, Morty?
Well, I fully agree. I mean, Jefferson was one of our most brilliant founders and forefathers, and we should follow the advice of Jefferson, of Monroe, of Madison, all of which were
brilliant.
All of which were certainly against what we have become.
Instead, the U.S. government has become the government force that unconstitutionally subsidizes one country and then plunges taxpayer dollars and lives to fight on behalf, of subsidized country enemies.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It's outrageous that we are the country that everybody has historically looked up to. We have the best system of governance and economy and capitalism, but we use the money that the great production and great technology that we develop to do more killings and more destructive things than what really matters to us. Let's make everybody immune from cancer. If we spent that kind of money, $800 billion, $750 billion in 1 year. If we ever spent that kind of money, just as we did with when Russians shot up Sputnik, and we went all out, we held nothing back. We funded every university, every major company, every major research laboratory, because it was urgent for us. It was imperative for us. It was almost, life existential for us to get to ahead of the Russians at that time, and we did it because we didn't hold anything back.
The same sort of wisdom that would subsidize tobacco farmers and pay the health care costs of those who then choose to smoke.
Yeah.
Right?
You're hitting the nail on the head, man. That's great.
Yeah, it feels good to get this out. I'm glad you created this forum. And stay the course. It's good to hear your voice out there because it's needed.
And I appreciate your wisdom. Thank you for calling, and please call again.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Okay.
Be well.
God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So So let's get on with this. Just as he said, our founders really proposed a formula for us to live by and for our government to live by, to keep working to make a more perfect country and a more perfect union, and to work at providing life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. In fact, it's so sad that we're the wealthiest country in the world by far, and the listing of countries that are the happiest in the world that is offered every year, that is put together every year, we're not even in the top 10. Israel is in the top 10, number 10. It's outrageous. And the most successful countries in producing happiness are the Scandinavian countries: Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Finland. They're the top 5. I think Iceland or Greenland, but we're number 16 and going south. And it's terrible when we should be the number 1 country because we have the resources and the wherewithal to produce happiness. So we have to make that a priority. Every decision we make should include an evaluation of what it contributes to happiness. And wars and conflicts certainly don't add to anyone's happiness. And if anything, it adds to misery, to all those that have family members killed and mothers and fathers that are replaced by their precious children by gold stars. It's outrageous. Anyway, it's been great being with you this week. Please join me again next week at 6:30. Tell your friends about it. And I invite not only people that agree with me, but people that abuse me, because in the process of their input and their arguments, I learn a lot, or I go up and review what I believe and what I should, how I should adjust my own thinking. So have a wonderful week. Have a wonderful everyday. God bless you. And I look forward to speaking with you next week. Bye.